What's the most hurtful thing you've overheard about yourself by accident? Story 1. My wife had a falling out with some friends of mine that she met through me. We had known them a long time, but I had known them for much longer. Now, I was upset with her one night because they were always asking me why she never came around anymore, but she absolutely refused to see them. I always thought it was because of this little side business project they went into together that didn't work out. So I'm driving my wife somewhere, and I just start getting upset with her that she won't make up with them and move past it as they did. And it sucks that she never comes with me whenever I go over there. So she finally broke and told me the truth. Turns out every time she went over there without me, they would talk shit about me, putting down my personality, my humor, and much more. I guess they thought she would be okay with it, like a joking, ha ha, my husband can be such a comedian, right? But she wasn't okay with it. She's not a confrontational person, so she never really spoke up, but she was disgusted by the way they spoke about me behind my back and refused to have anything to do with them. She'd been letting me think it was all her fault, and she took it because she knew the truth would hurt my feelings, and it did. Now, my wife was not manipulating me. She's not a manipulative person, and she's certainly not the type to try and control who I do and do not see. I know these people, and I know they're capable of this, even though they're otherwise generally good people with faults. Everyone has faults. Just irks me a bit that there are so many cynics out there. Story 2. I went out to a bar with some friends for a birthday party for my ex-girlfriend. She really messed me up when she left me, like really bad, but I was trying to be nice since she invited me, so I figured I'd go out and be there for a drink or two. So a mutual friend who had been broken up with a few days before was there, so as I made the rounds, I talked to her and tried to do whatever I could do to let her know it would be okay. I'm no therapist, but I did my best, I knew what a bad breakup felt like as I was going through one, so I tried to help. Anyways, after I left the table, I overheard her talking to my ex at the bar about me, trying to give her advice, and she said, well, nobody has ever loved him, so what does he know about any of this? And they started laughing. Don't think they know I heard, but I grabbed my coat immediately and took a long walk home. I don't need people like that in my life. Haven't willingly seen either of them since. Good call. Story 3. I was copied into an email conversation where about 10 messages earlier, one of my employees had described me as an idiot and suggested to the recipients that they didn't get me involved in the situation they were discussing. I'd always thought we'd got along well, and it knocked my confidence. I've got much thicker skin now, but this happened many years ago when I was quite new to management. I eventually talked with the lady who sent the email, and she was extremely embarrassed and apologetic. It took months to get rid of the real problem causer. This wasn't in the United States. It's difficult to fire people where I am. And the real confidence crusher was knowing that he was poisoning the well that whole time. Things were much better once he was gone. Story 4. I had just moved into my dorm for my second year of college. My roommate was my best friend since 9th grade. My stuff hadn't arrived yet, and it was my time to register, so I asked him if I could use his computer. He said sure. I sat down and he had AOL Instant Messenger, open to a conversation with another friend of ours. I didn't scroll up, but from what was just visible on screen, they were talking about how weird I was and how awful it would be rooming with me. I closed it so he wouldn't realize later I'd seen it, registered, and left. We still lived together that year, but we didn't hang out at all. We just cohabitated. I never asked him to hang out as friends, and he never asked me. The move-out day that year was the last time we spoke, and that was over 10 years ago. We chatted every day for 6 years and haven't spoken since. I still don't know if I did or said something to flip off how he felt about me or how he never really liked me to begin with. Story 5. When my oldest sister died, my older sister was crying to my mother about how she felt alone. My mother was trying to reassure her and said, "You still have vamped Vixen, though." But my sister said, "Who cares about her? I want my oldest sister back." I kind of get it. But this was around the same time my mother told me to my face that it should have been me who died instead because I don't have a husband or kids as my oldest sister did. It seemed like absolutely no one wanted me in my family, and they all wished I could have switched places with the one we lost. People wonder why I'm depressed now. Everyone tells me not to speak to my mother anymore. Well, joke's on her. She died about a decade ago. My oldest sister died in 2008, my father in 2010, and my mother in 2012, all of alcoholism. I'm just a bachelor orphan with no family now. Well, I have my older sister, but we're pretty estranged after her habit and money-stealing days, which is good and also bad, especially on Christmas. My mother never apologized to me and ended up getting even more as time wore on. I eventually moved out of the house and went to live with a boyfriend. Since 5 years ago, though, I've moved down south, and after many trials and tribulations, many of them, I now have my own apartment and 2 beautiful cats. Story 6. Overheard my mother tell the rest of my family that my baby had died because of my negligence. My baby died of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. I did not have a relationship with my mother for a year after that was overheard because she later said it to my face after multiple doctors, funeral directors, and therapists explained how SIDS can't be intentionally caused. She knew what it was and still chose to believe it was my fault. This is also coming from the woman who told me I deserved to be raped when I was 18. So I wasn't too shocked, absolutely disgusted, and wanted nothing to do with her at the time. As the years have passed, this was September of 2014, it became painfully obvious that she's mentally unstable and can't be trusted to be left to her own devices. No confirmed but many signs. I like to think I'm an understanding and forgiving person, and while I haven't forgiven her for those comments, I do still love her and keep an eye on her. She actually currently lives with me, not the most fun, but I do believe if she did not reside with my husband and I, she'd be homeless and dead. While she may deserve this for the many awful things she's done in my childhood, she's still my mom. I don't want to be the kind of person she's become, so I tolerate her. It's not the best situation, but she doesn't have that much longer to live, maybe 3 to 5 years. I waited 5 years to heal from my daughter's passing before getting pregnant again. That was a shock, which was sadly followed by a miscarriage. Complete and utter disbelief in the universe. However, I'm currently in my second trimester with my rainbow baby. My husband and I are very excited, currently establishing strict boundaries for the baby and my mother. We don't want our child exposed to my mother's toxicity. Story 7. Not overheard, but actually read in a file about me. My mother passed away suddenly, and I received a file from my father that she was meaning to give to me. It was a psychological profile, along with tests, personality tests, and other stuff. This wasn't a surprise to me since I am autistic and have been in therapy as a child. There was a part, however, about my family and their trouble with living with me. Especially my brothers and my dad were having problems coping, and learning how my existence pained them was difficult. My parents got divorced basically because of me. My brothers were embarrassed by me. I'm doing better than expected. I was never supposed to be living on my own. There was talk about assisted living or even an institution, but somehow I managed to leave home as soon as I got to 18. I got married and had kids, and even though I struggle a lot, I get by. I even have a good relationship with all of my brothers, even though they still have trouble treating me as an adult. It's like always thinking everybody knows you're retarded, except you, and then finding out it's true. Story 8. My boss mocked me and my entire team. The product I was working on was not working as intended, so I kept getting farther and farther behind overall. When I brought up my concerns with production potentially contaminating my product and causing it to behave incorrectly, he told me the product wasn't the problem. I was, because I wasn't working fast enough. I got extremely frustrated because I had zero support on this, massive pressure, and needed to get this done, so with frustration tears running down my face, I snapped something along the lines of, "Okay, fine, I guess this is just how we do business now, I'll push it through." An hour later, I heard him behind the hoods in his most high-pitched, condescending, mocking girl voice to everyone I work closely with. I'm the only female on my team, repeating, "Okay, fine, I guess this is just how we do business now, I'll push it through," while he incorrectly recounted our conversation, making me look really bad. The worst part, though, there really was a problem with production. It was a huge one, and he took credit for discovering it. My team doesn't respect me anymore after that. I'm now just talked down to. It feels so horrible that I let my emotions get the better of me just once, and in a matter of 5 minutes, everyone's perception of me changed so drastically that I can't get anyone to take anything I say seriously. It's gotten so bad that I'm looking for another job, and I'm willing to take significantly lower pay just to escape the emotional female ghost that now haunts me. Story 9. I'm probably blocking out the worst cases. I've learned it's pretty much human nature to talk trash about anyone who isn't present, so no reason to take it personally, but when you're a kid, it's a miserable experience. The worst case recently, I have a weird neurological problem in my shoulder and arm that no one has ever been able to diagnose. During an intense flare-up, I was referred to a physical therapist by a friend. The therapist saw me once and recommended surgery. I was very reluctant to take this advice, but I didn't say no. I called the surgeon she recommended. Turned out he wasn't accepting new cases. For the second appointment, there was a scheduling error, and I arrived 30 minutes too early. I sat in the front of the office and listened to the therapist making small talk with another patient about how her next patient was a psycho trying to fabricate some kind of malpractice case and refusing to comply with her advice. The receptionist was sitting right in front of me, also listening, but she didn't run back to stop it, so it went on for quite a while. If I had been a psycho trying to manufacture a legal case against her, she was kind enough to do all of the work for me. Story 10. I was in college in the earlier days of Facebook when the feed was a new feature. In my feed, I see that these girls I was friendly with posted a picture album of themselves posing with a hanging mobile that they made look like an art project. In the mobile, hanging there from a coat hanger were photos of really creepy, skeevy guys and also pictures of guys at our school that were generally known to be a little weird. I saw a picture of myself hanging from it too. I was devastated. These were girls I knew who were supposed to be friends of mine. I wrote them a note confronting them about it, but did it in a nice way, telling them I was deeply hurt to see myself there and apologizing if I ever offended them in any way. They were super embarrassed, but also maturely apologetic and insisted they would prefer to be my friend. They also rightfully pointed out character traits in me that led them to want to put my picture there in the first place, and it gave me some good introspection to change myself for the better. And this was 10 years ago, and I still think about it. I still have the message history on Facebook from back then, too. Story 11. I heard two of my only friends at the time planning to go out later, making sure to ditch the redhead. Me. They'd been my only friends since I could remember. After I let my mom know I was dating a girl she knew and really approved of, I heard my mom talking on the phone immediately to a friend of hers that she was disappointed in the girl's choice and hoped she would try dating other people. Heard a group of people I was out with talking about me in a pretty bad way, and my best friend at the time joined in. All that was over a decade ago now. In college, I really focused on getting better socially, and I went to a faraway college where I could get a fresh start where I didn't know a single person. Made a great career for myself and moved to a town in a different state with a beautiful girl who I didn't tell my family about till we were engaged, and now I run a very successful business and am pretty well liked from what I can tell. Coming home for Christmas, though, is like I'm back in high school all over again. The way I'm treated here by even my own family is super toxic. It's no wonder I was so socially awkward as a kid.